Hello, I'm Preston Cook from the Hillsborough County Office of Emergency Management, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government, and we have today a really great guest, Preston Cook, Department of Emergency Management Manager.
Yes. Thanks, Bill.
You've been at it now for how long?
It's almost 4 years here in Tampa.
Has it been that long?
Absolutely. 4 years this June.
Wow.
Time goes fast when you're having
Sure
fun.
does. I remember when you first came over from Orlando.
And it's not been a boring second, let me tell you that. It's not been boring for 1 second. It's been great. It really has.
Today we're going to talk about a number of things, but primary among them is we're going into the hurricane season, and this gentleman's responsible, not for the hurricane, but for making sure you're safe. Well, actually, you're responsible for making sure you're safe,
Yes.
but he'll give you all the ideas necessary to have it happen, right, Preston?
Absolutely. It's definitely all of our responsibility to make sure we're ready. And we are at the beginning of hurricane season. And so we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come out and tell the folks, how important it is and how much they need to take, the precautions that they need to now instead of waiting.
And it is their responsibility.
Correct.
The government can do a lot for you and give you a lot of good information, but your responsibility is to follow up with that information.
Well, if you don't take that power into your own hands and do the things that you can and that you need to do, government can only go so far, and we'll be there. Really, like we've always said, the first 72 is up to you. So we really want everyone to take responsibility and do what they can within their power to be as prepared as they can be for their family and their businesses even.
Everybody's saying we haven't had one here in 10 years.
Right.
That's not true, is it?
Oh, no, it's not true. It's been much longer than 10 years. We might have had
59
since
like
21, since we've
really?
had a major storm that's really come through here and done major damage. We haven't been hit by a major hurricane here since 1921. So it's a bit different than a tropical storm or even a glancing blow of some of the storms that we've had. So we really want people to take it serious, do the things they need to do now, take the opportunity to get prepared so that if it does happen, that we can recover as quickly as possible.
There are probably few living people here that recognize what a hurricane was.
Right.
That have been living here. You may have seen one somewhere else.
They're totally devastating. It's nothing like we've had here. I've gone to areas where there have been some serious devastation, and it's like a bomb is going off. It's hard to imagine the type of damage that we would really have here. And we're very vulnerable, susceptible to a lot of damage because of where we sit here in the Bay. The storm surge could come in and do tremendous amounts of damage. So it's important for people to be ready, but it's more important for them to do what we say do when we say they need to take action. So that's very important.
Let's start out with talking about what can I do right today, no storm clouds, beautiful day. What can I do now to make my family safe if all of a sudden it says, boom, we've got it?
Right. Well, today, with no storms out there, we call this sunshiny days. While the sun is shining, you really want to take the time to think about what you're going to do. Have a plan in place, what you're going to do with your family. If you have a business, what are you going to do with your business and how you're going to communicate with your employees? Think about it now. Write it down. Share it with someone else so that others will know what your plan is. Know if you're going to evacuate and where you're going to go if you have to evacuate. More importantly, though, know if you're in an evacuation zone. You need to know today. Go to our website, hillsboroughcounty.org/heat. That's HEAT. That's the Hurricane Evacuation Assistance Tool that will tell you, absolutely, it will tell you if you're in an evacuation zone, what zone you're in, and then it will give you the closest shelters to your home. So all of this can go into your plan so that you can be very comfortable, you can be empowered to know what your plan is, what you're going to do, just in case one of these storms do affect us.
Let's dissect that a little bit.
Okay.
You put out a lot of information in a very short period of time.
Sure.
One of the things not too long ago, I have about 30 friends in the Himalayas. And immediately upon the earthquake coming, I was in fear that these 30 people would be in trouble. And Facebook gave me the answer. They all checked in one by one.
Very, very, very user friendly today, a tool that can help us stay connected.
So the net is a good place, even though we're going to be down, and they were down. Some of them took as much as a week to get out and let somebody know they're okay. So
well, a part of that plan, what you're talking about, is communications. That's really what it's all about, letting others know what your plan is, letting others know if you've been impacted and if you're okay, but also using social media to communicate. And today, I think social media is going to be a big player when it comes to understanding how bad it was, who's okay, where they are, but also resources that are available to you, where to go and get those resources, because it is about that social connection. And we've seen it after Sandy, after tornadoes in Alabama, that social connection has really helped people to recover and to get the help that they need after a major disaster.
And a lot of people are relying on these cell phones. But if you have a major storm, these may be worthless, right?
Absolutely. First of all, you have to be able to power them up. So if the power's out, they're only going to last so long. If you don't have alternative methods for powering those up, you're not going to be able to use them. But also, when the system becomes saturated or the wind blows down the towers, they're not going to be able to get you a call out to anyone that you want to. So you really need to think about communicating before, having alternative means for communicating, sharing that plan that you have. So if people can't reach you, at least they know you had a plan and where you should be, and then they can check there or expect to hear from you in another way. But cell phones, we rely on them so much today, but we really have to have those other means of communications thought about and in place so that we can still communicate.
I will share with you one quick thing. I live in a golf cart community. I have in the garage 4 12-volt batteries, which are charged up almost all the time. And I began thinking, because I knew you were coming on the program, what can I do to be able to charge something like this? And I had 3 friends over, and one was an electrical engineer, the other was a mechanical engineer, the other was a technician. And all 3 are out there putting on a connector to my batteries so that I can charge this whenever I need to.
There you go. There you go.
But that's a ready source of power, and we ought to be looking around the house at what we can use, right?
Well, you need to have take a moment and look at what you have and use common sense, obviously, and be safe, but try and use a little ingenuity like you did to find ways that you can make yourself, your family, a little more comfortable and a little safer during these situations. What you talked about with the batteries, that's a great example of using a little ingenuity. There's other things that you can do when you talk about preserving food in your refrigerator. Putting something on the outside of it that lists all the foods inside. So if the power goes out, you're not opening and closing it all the time.
You don't stand
and letting all the cold air.
Right.
Right. So things like that, storing water in your tub to make sure that you have enough water on hand if you're going to stay in your home. There's a lot of things that you can do. It just takes a little time.
Yeah, flushing toilets may be a serious problem.
May be a serious problem. So taking time to think about what you can do really before anything happens, it's going to make our lives a lot easier. And understanding that government may not be able to be there the first day or the second day after a major impact to help you.
Well, look at New Orleans.
Right.
I mean, there were people stranded for a week, probably, maybe even more. I don't know.
Right. Well, when you talk about the disasters that we've seen, they seem to be getting bigger. They seem to be getting worse. And you look at Sandy. That was kind of the perfect storm. 2 systems colliding and coming in. They didn't think it would be as bad as it was necessarily, but you never know how bad it's going to be, and you have to be prepared just in case.
So I want to have batteries on hand. How about propane?
Well, you want to have batteries, you want to have enough food, you want to have enough water for you and your family. If you're using things that are powered by propane, make sure that you have enough and that it's stored safely and that you use it appropriately. You can have a generator on hand, but just make sure, again, you're safe with whatever you do. Plan ahead to have the supplies that you need, and you'll be much better off and happy that you did.
Problem I saw with a generator is that all these generators eat up a lot of gasoline.
They do.
In a very short period of time. And now, is there something I read here in Florida that gasoline stations must have an alternative way of being able to give you fuel if the power goes out?
Absolutely. You know, there's generators that do use gasoline. There's alternate. There's some that use natural gas and those things as well. So there are alternatives out there. But when you talk about the plans that we have in place and the evacuations that we may need to activate, yes, there's a law that's passed that says gas stations along those evacuation routes have to have the ability to connect in a generator, the pigtails, if you will, to connect in a generator and be able to continue to provide fuel to those folks on that evacuation route. So it's only those stations along those routes.
Oh, okay. So that's not my neighborhood gas station if it's not on the route.
Right.
I got trouble.
Yeah, you don't want people stranded on the roadways. You want them
Sure.
to see like it was in Texas some years ago.
Right.
You know,
I
where
remember
it was huge. So we want to have the ability to get people up the road and not have fuel be one of the reasons that they're stranded.
Okay, evacuation. Let's talk about evacuation.
Okay.
Where do we go?
Well,
The
listen.
last time we had a tropical storm here.
Right.
I had a friend call me from Orlando and say, hey, you need to come over here.
Right.
And I said, no, it's not going to hit here. You better come over here. And it did hit there.
Right. And I was there at that time too. So when Charlie came,
It didn't make any sense for me to hurry off into a place I was
Right.
going to get smacked again.
Well, a lot of people did that as well, and that's a big concern of ours as well. That people are going to, remember that they went over to Orlando, and then the storm came over to Orlando. So, what we say when it comes to evacuations, they really need to understand what evacuation zone you're in. Okay, what's your vulnerability? Okay, and then two, they really need to listen to us when we say that you either need to evacuate or you don't. We're going to say specifically the zones that need to evacuate, whether it's A, B, C, D, or E. Okay, and it's according to the storm, and a lot of smart people in the room looking at a lot of great data, listening to the National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service, all of those pieces of information coming together to really help us make the best decision on who needs to evacuate, when do we need to call for that evacuation, and then get these people to the safest place. The most important thing when we talk about evacuations is, remember, we run from the water and we hide from the wind. So you evacuate for water, not necessarily for the wind. So everyone does not need to evacuate, only
okay.
those
All right.
that we say need to evacuate.
Where are the number one spots in our area that people would want to evacuate from? I suppose Gibsonton and those
Sure.
places.
All
Apollo
along the
Beach?
coastline, sure. Those are going to be our Category A areas, right along the coast. That's the lowest area, and that's where that storm surge is going to come into initially, and we really want to get those folks out first for the lowest category storm even. But even if it's a Category 1 storm that doesn't produce a lot of storm surge, it could still get us to Category B, which is a little further inland, but still pretty close to the coast. Really, the key thing is to know what your vulnerability is, what evacuation zone you're in, if you're in one, and that you need to evacuate. We will have shelters open for you. We recommend you not go to a shelter and go to a place that is going to be more comfortable for you and your family, because a shelter is not the Hilton. It is just a place of refuge. It's not going to be the most comfortable place. It will be safe, but it will not be the most comfortable place for you. So have a plan in place of where you're going to go outside of your area if you are in an evacuation zone. It could be a hotel. It could be a family friend. It could be just another area that you know is further inland that you can get away from the storm surge. Another key point, you don't have to go all the way to Orlando. The storm surge is not going to reach Orlando. You go tens of miles, we like to say, instead of hundreds of miles. Okay, so go inland far enough to get away from the storm surge, and you and your family will be safe.
I'm
As safe as
curious,
possible.
Sun City Center would be pretty good, right?
Yes.
We're far enough. We're
Well, Sun
about
City
10
Center.
miles off of the
well,
Gulf.
it may not be good enough. It depends on the storm surge predictions, and then exactly where we are with that storm track. So
Make a pretty big lake if it gets all the way to there.
yes, it could be pretty. It could be pretty devastating. But there could be some impacts. What we really want folks to do is understand exactly what we're saying in terms of that particular storm, where it's going, what the impacts could be, and then make the final decision. But be ready to go just in case.
I would think that one of the problems that you would have as an emergency service manager is we're kind of on a place where that huge amount of people have to move from Pinellas County somewhere.
Right.
and most likely going to come your way.
Well, that's always a concern in terms of evacuations because of where we sit, Pinellas County, coming across the bridges. The way that we deal with that is, one, like now, education. Two, we really coordinate closely with all of the surrounding counties that could impact us coming up from the south, Pinellas County, and counties that we could impact going further up. So we work together, we talk together, we plan together, we make sure that we know what each other's plans are. And before we make any decisions to pull that trigger, we're going to be on the phone together saying, listen, this is what we're planning to do. This is when we're planning to do it. You need to go first so that you can get your people in and through, and then we'll be moving at another time. If we didn't do that, there will be gridlock. There will be,
There's gridlock in downtown Tampa every day.
on a daily basis. We know our infrastructure really can't support all of these folks on the road at one time. We know that there's going to be, difficulties in getting people through. So the key thing is we're doing what we can to coordinate. The citizens have to do what they can to be ready. They have to have a plan in place. And when we say go, they have to go then instead of delaying and waiting.
I would think that this time of year, especially here, in the winter up north, but here, you should keep a full tank of gas.
We say have a full tank of gas, keep cash on hand, even though you don't want to advertise that to everyone. It could be a little dangerous.
Right.
But you need to have things in place like that, have the fuel in your vehicle, the gas on hand, your supplies ready to go. If you know you're in an evacuation zone and you're going to have to leave, have it ready now instead of running around trying to go to Home Depot and get things that you're going to need that everybody's going to be there at the same time trying to get. And just make sure that you have thought about those things, got it ready to go beforehand, and then when we say go, you can pull the trigger and you're out of there.
I wonder how many people actually know, if you said today, you've got to get out of here,
Yeah.
where they're going to go.
Well, you think about
and
this.
other people know where they're going,
Right.
which is equally important,
Absolutely, definitely equally important. Having that plan in place and sharing it. But we say be ready for anything, not just hurricanes, right? When you think about a train coming through your community that may have chemicals on it and there's a derailment, okay, I've seen people that have that situation happen to them. They go to work and they can't come home for the next 5 weeks. What are you going to do then? How would you deal with a situation like that? These things could happen today. It doesn't have to be a hurricane. If you're thinking about preparedness, you're thinking about being prepared for anything.
And that's all part of your department. We haven't even talked about the other things in your
Well, we
department.
worry about all of that kind of stuff. The port with spills that could take place and become a hazardous materials incident. Mass casualty issues that could cause us to have all of our partners coming together to help those that have been injured. There's a number of things that we as emergency managers, we have to deal with, plan for, be ready for. We just want our citizens to be thinking about what they can do to be prepared for anything as well.
I would think with the phosphorus mines here and everything, that there's always that potential for a Houston ship terminal blow up.
There's so many, we have the port here. And with the port, it's one of the busiest ports in the nation. We bring in a lot
It's
of...
fifth largest.
Yeah, we bring in 75% of the hazardous materials into the state of Florida coming through our port.
Oh, wonderful.
They may not all stay here, but
You
they...
maybe didn't need to know that.
Right, they come in through our port. We have to think about these things, and we plan for them. We partner together. We have procedures in place to make sure that we can warn the citizens. But citizens need to be thinking about that, we know life is good and we love living here, but things could happen here that could impact our lives and that we need to be ready for.
How many people different groups are involved with the emergency management group?
Well,
I think it's a pretty large number.
It's a large number. We just updated our comprehensive emergency management plan where we really have to we brought in over 42 different agencies alone just to help us to make sure that we put this plan together in a collective manner because we can't do it in a vacuum. We can't respond and do it all by ourselves. It really takes all of us. But it's a large team and easily over 42 different agencies that we bring together for any major impact. And it doesn't just have to be a hurricane, but any major impact to this county, we have to bring all of our partners together to make sure that we can respond effectively and meet the needs of our citizens.
A while back, a friend of mine out in Sun City Center said that the radio club there was one of the integral parts of this whole plan because they could talk to everybody, but the various agencies couldn't talk to each other.
Right.
Are we making any strides towards agencies being able to talk to themselves directly?
Well, let me tell you, communications is always one of those shortfalls in any kind of disaster. Think about it. Communications plays a part in everything that we do. From home communications, there could be a misunderstanding at school, at work. In disasters, it's that much more important to make sure that we're talking together. We can communicate. Acronyms, plain language, plain speak. Well, communications is always a key. We have worked constantly to make sure that we're planning together, we're talking in plain language together. There's been procedures put in place for how to use a radio and interoperability, meaning your radio can talk to my radio.
Right.
We can communicate even though you may be in a different city or municipality. All of those things we focused on. It's not perfect. Is it going to ever be? I don't think so. But I tell you, we've gotten a lot better. But when you talk about the amateur radio folks, I will say, 100 times over, those folks are my heroes, because they come together and when all the power's out and when we don't have radios in place that we use every day, these folks can come up. They're self-contained. They have their equipment in hand, and they can communicate for us, with us, across boundaries, long distance, short distance, in many different ways. That's phenomenal, and that's why they're such an integral part of our team.
Yeah, the Sun City Center has a great radio club, and those people put a lot of hours into practicing this very thing.
Well, they're passionate about it. They're serious about it. It's a hobby, but it's a passion. And fortunately for us, we take advantage of that skill set that they have during disasters when we don't have those usual and customary communications tools that we're used to. They're there to assist us, and that's why they're an integral part of our operations. We support them, we plan with them, we hopefully encourage them to continue to do what they're doing, because they are so important to us.
But animals.
Animals.
Isn't that something we have to give some thought to?
Well, you know what? We have animals at home, and they're part of the family. I mean,
Exactly.
so many people are in that same boat. So you can't forget about anyone in your family. That includes those animals. So when you think about that planning process that you have, those supplies, don't forget your pets. Don't forget. Well, and toys and things that make them feel comfortable too.
Exactly.
Because just like your children and other members of your family, they get anxiety. They get worried about things. Making sure you have a plan for your pets. If you're going to evacuate, where you're going to go. If you're going to a hotel, can they and will they accept pets? What does that look like? How much does it cost? Are you going to be able to bring the proper supplies? If you evacuate and you go to a pet-friendly shelter, which we have, do you have all the supplies that you need? You're going to take food with you. Do you have the shot records that you need for your pets? You have to think about what you need to do beforehand, just to make sure that your pets are okay as well.
Even talk with your vet about some type of tranquilizer for them.
Well, you want to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. So definitely talk with your veterinarian to see exactly what you can do to make them comfortable.
I assume also having shot records and things like that is very important.
Yeah, it's a must if you're going to shelters. It's absolutely a must. You have to have shot records. You have to bring their food with them, have a cage, certain things that you can find on our website, hillsboroughcounty.org/emergency. If you go to our website, it has all of that information. The disaster guide that we put out every year has a listing of all the shelters, the evacuation zones, all of the information about pets, special needs. All of those things can be found there on our website, and we'll be glad to tell you about it if they call our office as well, and I can give that number.
And all of these things are exactly the same, whether it's a train derailment or some kind of other major problem, along with the weather emergency.
Being prepared is being prepared. No matter what the situation is, if you're ready for it, you will be better off, I guarantee you.
You're causing me to think. My mind is spinning. I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute. I probably should have a go pack with my passport in it, my birth records or whatever I have, maybe a deed to the house.
Absolutely.
All of these things, even if it's a copy, we'd be better not having anything, right?
Correct. Insurance papers, think about it. And having, a thumb
Got
drive.
a wreck on the road.
Correct. Having a thumb drive. Now we don't have to have all the papers. You can scan that stuff and get it all on electronically and keep it on a thumb drive or somewhere in the cloud if you like.
I've got a lot of it right here.
You have a lot of it right there. Well, keeping it secure is an issue, but you can do those things today. And if you put them on a thumb drive that can hold more than most computers used to be able to hold, then you can carry that stuff portable with you everywhere that you go, plug it in, and have access to all of your information. Just be careful and be secure with it, but you can
password protect it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I never even thought of just a little thumb drive. I'm thinking carrying all this stuff.
Electronically, carrying files electronically is really a great way to do it. It allows you to have access to it at a moment's notice. It doesn't bog you down, and things can't, get lost as easy, but you just have to keep it secure. That's the whole point, but it's available.
Go to somebody that knows how to password
Absolutely.
protect that, right?
Technology.
If you can't do it, find somebody that can.
Right.
But get it password protected. You don't want it dropping into somebody else's hands.
Right.
And on the other hand, just as a matter of thought, if you ever see a thumb drive laying in the driveway, on the street, or anywhere else, don't plug it into your computer.
No, it could be a virus. It could cause more harm than good to your equipment.
The Air Force had that problem.
Well, technology helps, but of course we know it can be, you have to use it wisely, and it can be dangerous in some cases. But in terms of a situation where we have evacuations going on and you needing to have access to your information for a lot of different reasons, whether it's insurance or just making sure that you can make claims for other agencies that you have to work with, getting other records up to date, it really does help.
I'm going home and scanning all that stuff tonight.
Good, it works.
Preston, we have about 2.5 minutes or so before we finish the broadcast. What are the final messages or final thoughts that you'd like to get across to all of the people?
Well, when it comes to preparedness, today is the best time to start. You don't want to wait until tomorrow. You really need to make sure that if you're going to be prepared, that you share your plan with everyone and anyone that you need to, so that they'll know what it is. That makes them understand what your plan is. You know exactly what you're going to do. You have the supplies on hand. You're thinking about what you're going to do today and not waiting until tomorrow. Plus, when it comes to preparedness, you will be empowered because you've done the things that you need to do. And if we say that you need to take protective measures and actions, if we say you need to evacuate, if we say you need to do anything particularly for a particular storm coming in, you need to do it immediately and not wait. So it's really important.
I think that's the biggest thing, is do it now. Right now the sun's shining and it's beautiful. Yes, I'm going to go home and I'm going to start scanning these documents so I have them where I need them to have them, instead of waiting until that time when the clouds are and thunder's up and I'm afraid to have to get out of the house, right?
Right. You don't want to wait. You can't start a new insurance policy if it's or add hurricane protection to it if a hurricane is out there in the Gulf or in the Atlantic churning. You just can't do it. It's a 30-day waiting period. You need to do it now while the sun is shining. You don't want to wait.
Yeah, that's really funny. 10 years ago when the storms came through, our insurance agent, Connie, called me. And she said, really think you ought to get this insurance coverage, increase it. And I said, She said, no, now's the time to do it.
That's right.
It kicked in midnight the day before the storm.
Oh, wow, see? Timing is everything.
Didn't have any damage.
Right.
But Connie was so smart. And at first I was thinking, well, yeah, it's commission, but no, she really cared about me.
Yeah.
And I found that over 10 years.
Well, if you have people in your corner that can tell you that and get you, where you need to be, that's great. We want others to think about it now, and that's why you're here. That's why we're talking about it now. Hopefully someone else will think about it and say, hey, maybe I need to look at my insurance. Maybe I need to think about what am I going to do, if something does happen.
Well, you've got me looking at things.
Awesome.
Preston Cook, thank you for being with us. I appreciate it.
It's
Emergency
always.
Services Manager for Hillsborough County. Thank you for being with us. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Preston, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.